You're a materialist. If you believe in materialism, right? You don't believe in anything supernatural. You don't believe it. So you're kind of like stuck with empirical stuff. It's something that you can measure is what the truth is. The truth can only be measured, right? And can only be tracked by the five senses. So then beauty is not in that category. Beauty, aesthetics, is not really something you can measure in the same way as you can measure temperature, for example. And so it's relegated to an inferior category. Art is relegated to an inferior category because on a positivistic or empiricistic or materialistic paradigm, it doesn't have actual value.
It doesn't make the slaves produce any more crops.
Yeah, there's that as well. So there's the economic aspect, but there's the aspect of what's the point of you might think it's beautiful, I don't think it's beautiful. That kind of thing.
You can measure it. If people find things beautiful, then they're more inspired to live, they're happier, and people are going to produce a better society if they're happy and inspired.
Yeah, but they don't believe in beauty.
Exactly.
A lot of them don't even believe in beauty. So, like Aristotle had this view that beauty was an objective truth. He believed that beauty is something that you can actually measure, and he connected it with ideas of symmetry. So it's things which are symmetrical are more likely to be beautiful. So proportionality, symmetry, for him, beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is something objective, just like water boiling at 100 degrees is objective, yeah?
Well, that's not true, is it?
That's what Aristotle believed.
Do you believe that?
I think there's a degree of truth, and I'll tell you why. I used to believe in the opposite. So Immanuel Kant, who was one of the main figures of the Enlightenment,
right,
he said, no, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. He's one of I think, the first people to mention that term, right? And so beauty is something that you put onto the world. Now, I believe it can't be the case. Like, if you take the extremes of each situation, like, because taste and aesthetics are in the same category. If someone were to, if I put human feces on the table, right? If you go cross civilizationally and historically, most people say that's disgusting. I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm trying to say?
Right.
It's you could say. You can almost make a strong case objectively, like going to a Michelin-star restaurant and eating a good meal. That is objectively better than the human feces example, right? So when you look at the extremes, you start thinking, okay, well, there must be some degree of truth in this. But just because we can't measure something, it's fallacious to think that because we can't measure it in the conventional empiricist sense, that it doesn't exist. There's lots of things that we can't measure in that way, but it does exist. So I do believe there's an objective foundation of things which are beautiful, but I think that there is also a subjective component. But that is, so beauty is in the eye of the beholder to some extent. There's something that all human beings will, in terms of taste, agree is baseline ugly or baseline beautiful. I think that's...
Can you measure it on things like the Fibonacci sequence? Is it mathematical?
See, that's what... So someone like Aristotle would go that far. He would say it's exactly about symmetry. And it's about
symmetry is beautiful.
Yeah, he says that things which are symmetrical are more beautiful than things which are asymmetrical. But if you try to use ratios and means and stuff, it kills it.
It's easier.
That's fine.
Like, so the thing is, there's a difference between a scientist and a chef. The scientist, he goes into the laboratory, he puts the things in exact proportions. But if it was like that with taste, then the greatest scientists would be the greatest chefs. So there has to be an area of human ingenuity and creativity. Right. That's what I think.
It's like every genius, there's a combination of talent, but also the art exists somewhere. They have to piece together the puzzles that exist. But it takes some genius to get there.